The Salish Sea is an area stretching throughout the Pacific Northwest and western Washington and western British Columbia of Canada. It goes all the way up from Seattle and the Puget Sound up through the San Juan Islands, which is where I currently live on Orcas Island, all the way up to the Strait of Georgia and Vancouver, past Vancouver Island. The Washington State Ferries services the southern part of this area in the state of Washington, as located on the map before you. Seattle is the biggest city in Washington and the primary hub of the region. It's also a major hub for ferries, and you can imagine the entire sound laying out before it as a connecting network to Seattle and other big cities in the area. Ferries provide access for cities and islands to connect to each other throughout the sound, where roads are inaccessible and cannot go over long stretches of water. We can see how in many places around the world where water is part of the environment, ferries and other water transportation are essential to green tourism and green cities' approaches to a sustainable future. The following are a list of recommendations for Washington State Ferries to reinvent their ferry system and make it sustainable. Specifically, I'll approach the ferry system as a whole and then focus in general on the Orcas Island and the Orcas Ferry Terminal there as a case study of how the Washington State Ferries can redesign their system to make it more equitable, more environmentally friendly, and better for connecting people in the region in a green cities approach. Within the state transportation system, Washington State Ferries generate the most carbon and other greenhouse gas emissions. When combined with the fact that they are primarily for car transport and advertised car transportation rather than bike or walk-on ferry transportation, this really needs to change, and it's a huge impact on carbon emissions. Regarding the whole Washington ferry fleet, my recommendations are to electrify the current Washington State ferry fleet by January of 2022. Then to also integrate solar panels and wind power on ferries and at ferry terminals to offset electricity costs. Incorporate and build hydrofoil technology into the ferry fleet for smaller, greener transport vessels. Add sustainable products and appliances on board ferry vessels. And create a streamlined app for the ferry for visitors to listen to pre-recorded podcasts and lessons or audio tours connecting them to the history, geology, and geography of the place as they go through the area on their ferry ride, as it's a really magical experience to go over the water, and having these can be a great aspect of the trip. Shown in this photo is Orcas Village, which is the ferry terminal for the Orcas Island ferry. As you can see, there's not much room for biking and pedestrians. It's mainly meant for cars. So one of my recommendations is to build an easily accessible bike lane for foot traffic and bikes. Additionally, I would put a bike station where tourists can rent bikes, as well as a little fix-it station for those who walk on the ferry with their own bikes to encourage more foot traffic and more bike traffic to visit the islands. Additionally, there should be a bus that runs from town. There's not currently a year-round bus that runs from the main town on Island East Sound to Orcas Village, and there should be implementation of this. Additionally, putting in food carts for low cost and high quality can really add to the area. There's only a small grocery store, and so having food carts for or other restaurants, small restaurants for ferry tourists to visit can really enhance this area. That concludes my video and all of my recommendations. Thank you for watching.